welcome to you for this final class in the journey through the rainbow of color, which is why I've actually put the rainbow on the image. And I just love this as the image itself. The rainbow looks as if it's actually forming an eye. You know, you kind of look at the shape where you've got the reflection as well, and it looks as if you've got a giant eye. And that to me is what it's all about, because understanding the language of color gives us a number of different lenses through which we can observe, interact, interpret, and understand the world from many, many different perspectives. So I just love this. So you've got the symbolic rainbow, but you've also got the eye that's actually hidden in that. So what I would like to do is I did send you a homework sheet. What I've got in the presentation here is I've got the same 9 bottles that we went through at the end of the presentation last week, class 5. So I'm not going to go over these again because we had a brief rundown. But what I've got is I've got the 9 colored bottles that I sent you with the homework. And we can do a quick debrief on this, which just gives you an opportunity, I think, to perhaps further integrate the information and just validate your understanding and give you a bit more confidence in terms of working with it. So this is a totally different spread that I put into your homework sheet. So if you actually look at that, what would be, let's just take general questions. You know, these are the 9 bottles that somebody has chosen. What would be one of the themes that you would observe or be aware of straight away when you look at this? If you actually had a look at that, because you can see that there's a predominant color that's kind of like filtering through. So if you actually had to look at a theme, what would you pick up from that spread of 9 bottles? Well, that selection. Any keywords? Anything there, ladies? I know you can do this. You're very quiet on the other side there. What would the predominance of those blue shades actually tell you? You're not getting it, Sini? Okay, well, let me give you a hint. The first thing that I would connect with looking at that spread would be all of the blues. So you've got blue in the past, you've got blue in the emotional, and you've got deep indigo here in the physical, and in the potential, you've got turquoise, and turquoise is emotional freedom. So looking at that and then going back and looking at these blues, I would actually say that this is the kind of individual that tends to get stuck with their a high degree of what's the word? Identification, over identification with their emotions, but then trying to rationalize those emotions rather than becoming master of them. So also a predominant theme would be a tendency towards not trusting themselves. This is in the blues. Blue would always indicate a lack of trust. So not trusting in themselves, not trusting in a higher power. And why would I say that? Because here in the biggest issue, you've also got magenta. And magenta is very often indicative of a lack of faith, not having a strong connection with the divine, being confused about their relationship with a divine source, just what on earth it is. And then you've got all of these trust issues here and the potential for depression. Okay? And yellow in the mental block would indicate confusion. So when you've got a lot of mental activity going on, you've got emotions churning up, and you can't find any solution or resolution because you've turned it all into a mental activity, you get confusion and you get the tendency to become over-internalized in terms of churning all of those things up. And you would end up with depression. What you've also got here in the pathway, which is pink that's been chosen, is a need for love. There is a need to accept oneself for who they are. So if you look at this, and this is about love, it's about acceptance, it's about nurturing, it is about opening the heart to new possibilities. This is somebody who has closed the heart in favor of the mind. Okay? So looking at that pattern in favor of the mind. And then again, gold in the presence, along with yellow in the mental, also says lack of confidence, problems with identity. Don't forget, in the gold, we've also got the yellow. So we've got confusion. We've got lack of strength. We've got procrastination. And that's one of the things in the gold. Putting things off, putting things off. Why? Because everything is being mentalized and actually thought about. So it's somebody who keeps on putting things off. And they need to feel happy enough within themselves and love themselves enough to be able to take a step forward. And in accordance with all of that, with the patterning, you have a look at this in the future. And what will happen is that if they actually do this, look, you've got red in the pathway in the form of pink, and you've got red in the future, which is energy, passion, excitement. You've got somebody who is looking to revitalize their life. And along with that, you've got emotional freedom. So it's allowing themselves, letting the barriers down enough, and allowing themselves, the freedom to be able to experience and express their emotional selves. And when they do that, they free up their energy in order to be able to move. So you've got somebody here who is probably very stuck, who doesn't have the energy, who just keeps putting off doing things, who has a tendency to internalize and go towards depression, cannot see that there is a bigger picture involved, that there is a connection with a divine being in terms of their life having a purpose. That's part of the confusion. They're probably feeling as well that their life doesn't have purpose. And they worry, worry, worry. Again, you've got the mental activity. Because what does magenta do in an issue? It worries about all of the little things. And it tries to control everything. So you're looking at somebody who wants everything to be perfect. And when I've got a perfectionist, you are putting all of your attention into the little things and you are losing sight of the bigger picture and the purpose, and you end up eventually getting stuck in your own little cocoon. So how does that feel looking at that now? Does that make sense? I mean, I've obviously gone through that very quickly, but you can start seeing how you can see bigger patterns in the spread of 9. You know, that you don't even just have to look at 1 or 2 bottles. You can look at the whole thing and suddenly there's a picture. Because the first thing that I saw when I looked at that was depression. That that person has a tendency. So that's more clear. And it's beautiful to work with this because you can see, oh my goodness, yeah, there's a link between here and here. Because here you've got the biggest issue is magenta, and one of the prime colors making up magenta is red. So you want to resolve this issue. And again, you've got red coming through in the pathway in the form of pink. So this is, you know, sort of learning to love and find the beauty in life. This is somebody who has lost perspective of the beauty, you know, because they're worrying all the time about all the things that maybe sometimes they can't control. and the big issues in life that are way beyond their sphere of control, but that gets them stuck in terms of acting on their own life in the here and now. So, bearing all of that in mind and looking at those, same question that I asked you in the homework, what color or colors might you suggest to this person that they take home and use with that would help and support them in achieving their objectives, in achieving freedom from some of the constraints and limitations? Pink. Pink would be an excellent one. Yeah. Is there anything else that you might suggest to them? Nope. Okay. Pink would be a really good one because you're carrying the theme through and you're helping them to manifest the future while working with this. So that's a really, really good one. The other one that I would give them, I would be very tempted to give them either gold or yellow, and I would see what they were connecting with. Because this helps to, a lot of the blues can be very oppressive and heavy to deal with. And sometimes what is needed is a bit of the sunshine color to balance all of that blue. So I would also be inclined to give them one of these to help lift the burden of the blue, because when you lift that burden, you get more of the natural happiness, more of the lightness coming in. And when you've got that lightness, you're lifting all of that mental stuff that's actually going on. When you can lift that, you open the way for the heart to be more expansive. Okay, for the heart to open, for them to feel that. So I really think that one of those warm yellow colors, either gold or yellow, would be very, very good as a complement for them. Can you see how that would assist and support by using that as well as a complement? In fact, I would probably go more for gold. And the reason why I would go for gold is because you've got the issue here in the magenta, which is their identification or understanding of the divine, which is also somewhat confused through this whole issue. And what gold does is it also helps to, it's not only energizing, it's warm, it's sunshine, it helps to cut through some of that confusion and helps to lift and lighten, but it also represents spiritual wisdom. So at another level, while you're working with opening the heart through pink, you are also enabling the person to be able to connect with their own divine wisdom within. So you begin to awaken that within them through the use of the gold, which would be very, very useful in this case. So just looking at it again, I would actually go for gold and pink as major support for them through the circumstances that they're facing. How does that feel for you? Good. Okay, that's super. The most important thing is, you'll have this recording. You guys can go back and review this. You can go back to the fifth one and have a look at the way that we worked with that one at the end of the fifth session. So you've got some nice background in terms of understanding it, and you've got everything in your workbook. Okay, so the more you do it, the more confident you would actually become with it anyway. Allow yourself to flow with the energy and the information. How do you know whether to give an angel spray or a transformation oil? Okay. Again, that's intuitive. What I would likely do is one of the things you could do is give them the pink oil to support the physical body. And because here we are working with the gold, we start working with more subtle energies. Support their energy space throughout the day to help them keep an uplifted mental approach with the gold spray. So you can either use a gold oil or you can use an angel spray, but the gold spray would probably be very good for that because you want that subtle connection with their higher self to actually be developed. And the angel sprays obviously work at a more subtle energetic level. So it does become intuitive in terms of what to choose. Um, and you know, again, where you're looking at red in the future, I would go for physical support with the pink. So that would be the oil, something that they apply to their physical body. Um, yeah. So that's how I would look at it. What do they really need? What is the greatest level of physical support at the moment, and what might they be needing from a more subtle energetic level in order complement to complement the physical support. Does that make sense? There's no, you know, it's like with everything. It all depends. That's one of the wonderful answers to everything is that, well, it depends because it depends on the individual. So you're going to need to sort of sit with that with your own thought processes. What you may even want to do is you may even want to give them a turquoise spray because turquoise also helps to break down the barriers around the heart. And we know that pink also works with the heart. So there's another one that you could actually bring in if you wanted to. So you could work with those, and then also bring in that as a physical oil, and then bring in the turquoise as a spray. So there's a number of different ways, and as I say, it's not a hard and fast rule. So I hope that that helps. It's not a definitive answer because you know again when we're working with energy, there's nothing which says that it has to be a certain way because everybody's resonance, everybody's frequency is different. But the more you trust your own connection with this, the more that you would actually be supporting them in the correct way with whatever you choose. Is that all right, ladies? You okay with that? Okay. Thank you. Okay. So let's go on to this was another spread that I actually put together. I'll leave this up on the screen for a while. I don't know if you want to go through it now or whether I just leave this up on the screen so that when you go through the review of the video, you've got another layout to practice on. So again, there's no answers to this. You can actually work with it. Do you want to go through this as another little exercise? Well, not really. Are you feeling okay? You do want to go through it. All right, let's go through it as another little exercise. Okay, so this time I'm going to hand over to you. Ashrit, are you still with us, sweetheart? I know that you probably diverted a bit because of your husband, so please give him our love too. Okay. No, that's okay. That's fine. Ashrit, relax. Not going to push anything. You can actually review this later. So okay. So let's go through this. Let's have another little practice. So what would your initial sense be looking at this particular selection? Because again, it's very different. What would your initial words to the individual be if you looked at this? Biggest issue, violet. Magenta in the past, what would they say to you? You can get clues from each one of these bottles. Perfectionist, nice one, with a lot of mental sensitivity, sense of uh, deepest as their biggest issue. Uh, yeah, okay. All right, I kind of get what you're saying. That's good because there is somebody who is a bit of a perfectionist. Absolutely, you've got that there in the magenta. Overall, if I actually have to look at these bottles, oh, that's really good. Um, what I see is, yeah, somebody, not just mental sensitivity, but a lot of emotional sensitivity as well. Because what you got at the emotional level is you got turquoise. Turquoise in the emotional body is putting up walls to protect oneself. So you've got sensitivity at all levels. Okay. Somebody who is, if this clear is appearing at the mental issue, you got somebody who's emotionally very, very sensitive, somebody who's tended to take on, because of this clear bottle here, a lot of other people's stuff, so that it's become very, very uncomfortable for them, put up walls to protect themselves, but are probably a lot of mental clutter that they can't figure out what is theirs and what is other people's because of this sensitivity. So they've taken on board a lot of other people's stuff. And I would say again, because now you're looking at coral as a pathway, and what does that indicate? The gifts in coral are independent. So you've got somebody who has probably been hugely dependent, on others, but somebody who has probably given a hell of a lot of themselves to other people. And that combined with the perfectionism, you've got green at the physical level, so you've got strain on the heart. Somebody who hasn't been able to take in life. Think about green covers the heart and the lungs and pumping blood and the life force around the body. So it's somebody whose heart has probably been hurt because of their sensitivity, quite literally. Experienced a lot of disappointment. It's quite likely that they get a lot of colds that sit on their chest. They have an inability to take in life, and one of the other clues here is in the violet. And violet, as the biggest issue, would indicate a lot of loss, a lot of grieving. Um, so there's probably this person or this individual would look to me as if they've had a very difficult life, combining all of these colors. That they have taken on some difficult karma, some difficult choices, that there are major patterns that they need to shift, but that they've had a really difficult time because of this high degree of sensitivity and tendency to put themselves at the back of the line, and this tendency to also want things to be perfect for everybody else. So they're worrying generally about everything that's going on in their environment, about keeping everybody happy other than themselves. And they've probably they're worn out, they're exhausted. So there would be this absolute fatigue. And there would likely also be this, I've had enough in the violet. I've had enough, just get me out of here. Just take me off this planet. So it's quite likely that that could be part of what you're actually seeing here. And part and parcel of all of the resolution, look at this, you've got yellow. So it's somebody who has yellow in the potential and yellow in the present, somebody who has not had a lot of joy in their life for a long time, where life has actually been very serious, very heavy, very burdensome in some ways because they've been carrying this responsibility for everybody else. And what this is saying to them in a very, very big way is it's now time for you. Between that bottle, the yellow, the coral that is here, and the potential in the yellow, it's time now for you. And in fact, It's really, really important that they do that, that they make that space and time for themselves. Because the likelihood is, yellow in the present is a lot of stress, high degree of stress. And that if they don't do this, if they don't make that space for themselves, the likelihood is that they would have a nervous breakdown. But as they do, they will see that they start to see things in a different light. They begin to appreciate who they are for what they actually bring to the world rather than relying on how other people validate them. So all of this running around and doing things for other people and feeling other people's pain has been used as a mirror to validate the individual themselves. So I do for others because they can show their appreciation for me, if they do, and that means that I am then worthy or worth it. So working with the yellow will take them into ultimately a situation where they begin to value themselves purely because they are alive, because they are here, because they are an individual, irrespective of what other people think. And along with that, you've got in the future bottle the indigo, which is beginning to connect with their intuitive sense, which helps them to know when to say no, when to say yes, when to move in a certain direction, um, and how to actually make decisions for their life rather than for other people. They can begin to develop a mental psychic sensitivity because they get rid of all of the emotional clutter that they have taken on board for everybody else. And that also begins to, or can begin to awaken them to a new and profound understanding of themselves, and trusting in themselves and experiencing confidence, upliftment, happiness, fun. That yeah, they begin to really re-experience the joy in being alive rather than experiencing the burdens. But it's somebody, if looking at that, I would say straight away, it's somebody who has had or has been through a really difficult time, really difficult time. More so because of all of the emotional burdening rather than the mental stuff that you see in the previous one and the lack of trust. But yeah, somebody who's never really been validated for themselves for who they are, and that's difficult. So this is really transformation time for them. It's crunch time. Violet is an opportunity for transformation. Can you see that in those colors as I've actually been talking to you about it all? Can you see again how those colors tie in to give you a beautiful big picture that expands on the initial words? Because that's really what you do. You start off with an initial thing, like you've said there, Cherry. Somebody who is a perfectionist, who was a perfectionist with a lot of sensitivity. Now, that's great. How can I build on this? What does that mean? Have a look at some of the other colors. How can I actually build on it? Does that help you, ladies? Are you there? Oh, you're there. Okay. Okay, that's great. So, with those in mind, what might you then recommend for this particular individual to take away and work with? Somebody that's had a really, really difficult time. What might you suggest they take away and work with? Or put into their space, or build into their feng shui alignments, or whatever it might be? Ah, yeah, yellow would be a really good one. Yep. And yellow because it begins to alleviate the mental confusion and the stress that they're experiencing. Yellow and coral or green, yes. Nice one. Coral or green for support. Yeah, absolutely. And coral is a good one for support as well because coral, don't forget, is also combined with orange. So coral can sometimes be used as a substitute because if somebody has been through a lot of really difficult times, what you may have found is that that trauma through the difficulties, the disappointments, all of the heartache, could have also caused and created shifts in their energy fields and leaks in their aura. So the coral, also containing the orange, would help to stabilize the emotional body and the energy fields and bring it back into balance. And green, we're talking about balance. So yes, those would actually be very good ones. And opening up the green helps them to also provide a much bigger perspective of their place and their role in the bigger picture and the patterning of things. So you might actually want to use coral as an oil, perhaps green as an oil, and a yellow spray. Okay. Because again, the yellow will just keep that little bit of upliftment when it's needed, sort of bring in that little bit of joy. And they would need to feel physically supported through the process because of the level of fatigue. So they would need a lot of physical support. So I think the coral would be great physically. And again, I think the yellow would be good to provide the upliftment. And green, probably physically on the body as well. So you've got the sacral area, you've got the heart area, and then you've got the subtle energy of the yellow. Does that feel good for you? Yep, good. Okay, wonderful, ladies. Here we go. Our time together just goes so quickly. So there's a few more things that I just want to add in for you because there are some beautiful ways of working with color. And all of these are obviously in a lot more detail in your workbook. So I've given you the page numbers here. But it's very, very powerful to use color for space clearing. And it's absolutely beautiful. I've done this so many times. Um, for rooms and personal space, red spray and clear spray are absolutely fantastic. And one of the things that you can actually do is you use them in conjunction with, there's a whole process that Penny's actually got in the workbook as well, which uses Epsom salts together with surgical spirits and along with the red and the clear sprays. The surgical spirits and the Epsom salts, you can actually, because surgical spirits is actually alcohol and it burns, you wet the Epsom salts in a flame-proof dish and you can burn the surgical spirits over the Epsom salts. And believe me, you can really breathe. Oh, pardon me. You can really breathe the freshness in the air as you clear the space with this particular combination. So you can use red spray beforehand, do the burning and the clearing, and then go around with a clear spray afterwards. It uplifts physical space in an amazing way. It really does. So it truly is a fabulous, fabulous way of clearing personal space. I like to keep Epsom salts together with surgical spirits on hand because it is that powerful. Because I've moved so much over the years, I've actually used this many times because I move into a new space and that's one of the first things that I do is get the Epsom salts and the sprays and the surgical spirits and I go around and I clear the rooms and just prepare them. So it really does clear everything for you to be the one that's now imprinting into that space. We know that with houses, with buildings, with walls, because everything is frequency. Whatever has taken place within that environment before becomes imprinted into that space. It's almost as if you walk into a room where somebody's had an argument, you've got that expression, you could cut the atmosphere with a knife. You feel it because you feel the frequency. So if ever you go into a space where you can really, really feel that there's been something going on there, even if you can't identify it, but it's a heavy emotional sense or a heavy emotional imprint, Even if you can't, if you notice that behavior changes in a certain space, then actually do this particular cleansing exercise. It really is beautiful, and that's where the clear spray comes in very useful as well. Right, for children, and here we are talking about very, very young children. The pink spray and the blue oil of transformation are a perfect, a really, really precious combination. Using it for children to help to keep their space clear. Now you can put the blue oil on them and then you can use the pink spray in the space because the combination of blue and pink, blue provides support, and that is also physical support. It's something that's almost quite solid, and mothering, and pink brings in love. So that's really what you want children to be imprinted or to grow up with, is that very definite, energetic, what's the word? Not, I mean, I hesitate to use the word imprint, but conditioning that is based around support and love. Because when we feel supported and we feel loved at the deepest levels as a child, we carry a lot more of that through into adulthood, then we have fewer issues to actually deal with. I mean, we all have stuff that we're dealing with, but this is just a wonderful combination for children. In offices, again, if you're in a workspace or in a work environment, and I have done this because I used to work in corporate and I was still working in corporate when I'd actually started working with color, so I used to take the sprays in with me all the time. Um, and it was just amazing because it did make a difference to the individuals who used to come into my office. Red, blue, clear, and pink, for different reasons. Red, because you're in a work environment, so you really just want to stimulate grounding and energy. So people who are flying off, in a sort of a way in the ethers are not really going to be very functional at a practical level. So you want this, that environment to be functioning, practical, and energized. So the red spray is actually really good for that. Blue, because you actually want harmony. Blue is actually a color that helps to support peace, so you want a peaceful, harmonious environment. So it helps to calm. Blue is calming, peaceful. And especially where you're working with groups of people and interpersonal relationships, blue is really, really good for supporting the harmonizing of that space. Clear as well, because clear actually helps to clear mental activity. It helps to keep you mentally sharp and open to ideas, open to seeing other perspectives, open to other people's points of view. The clear is actually wonderful in all sorts of circumstances. So in an office environment, it's also very good for that. And again, pink, because pink is about supporting the heart. Pink calms aggression. So you've got a balance there between the energizing of the red and the pink, which also helps to calm any potential aggression flying off the handle and that sort of thing. So you've got blue keeping the harmony and pink, which is actually counterbalancing aggression and promoting that harmonious environment through bringing the energy in of love. So really nice combination. And people don't need to know what they are. What I used to do is I always had the sprays on the office desk, and I would get members of my team because I actually had 30 odd people reporting to me, and it was quite funny because they would come in and they would say, Julie, what's that you've just been spraying? It just smells really nice. And I go, oh, it's kind of like an air freshener, but it does have it's a very special one. It's got essential oils in it and blah, blah, blah. And I would say, just stand there for a minute and close your eyes. And I would spray their aura with it, just spray around them. So I wouldn't say I'm spraying your aura. I'd say, just let me spray this. Just close your eyes and I'll just breathe it in. Now, how do you feel? And you know what? They would open their eyes and they would say to me, oh, I feel really nice. Or I just feel really good. That's amazing stuff. That. Do you sell them? I even had a few people who bought a couple off me because they really liked them so much. So it really is a very, very interesting inclusion, if you like, into an office or a working environment. Now, again, you can also use your products, and especially the sprays, for crystal grids. In fact, I do this all the time. I use the clear spray to spray on my crystals. sort of before and after using them. So if I'm using my crystals to do a particular energy session, if I'm drawn to using it for a healing session or for a remote work or whatever it may be, I always give them a spritz with a clear spray before and afterwards, just to help to clear them. And you really can feel the crystals come alive with the spray. So not only crystal grids, I mean, you can grid your home and grid the space, if you like, with crystals, and use the clear spray as part and parcel of it. So you clear them before actually programming them. And blue, because it also helps to support the anchoring, if you like, of that programming. It kind of like prepares them at another level. It brings in the element of your element of trust in terms of allowing the flow, the divine flow through for the programming of crystals. So I don't use the blue oil personally myself very often. I tend to just use the clear spray if I'm doing crystal gridding or working with crystals. But again, it's a very powerful application. And then earth spirals. And this is a lovely one. It becomes a little bit expensive to do in the UK because the oils are imported. But what I used to actually do, whereas if I was keeping a lot of stock and the stock had gone out of date, then I would actually take those oils and I would bless the earth with them, give them back to the earth. And I would do that by actually creating a spiral with the oil on the earth, or even other geometric forms, and used to actually do this. And Penny's got a few examples in the workbook, but this is just really lovely. So you can actually just go and pour out the oil in a spiral on the earth. And it's amazing because that spiral actually stays there for quite some time. And you can step into it and you can actually program that spiral, and let it really boost the Earth's energy, because that's what happens when we trace out geometric forms on the planet, because there's a natural harmony and a natural resonance with the geometries. There's also geometries used in the charging up of the oil. So there's a natural harmonic resonance, earth resonance with them anyway. So I always gift them back to the earth with all of the essential oils in that form. So it's lovely to do that. I mean, if you wanted to do that with the mini oils, you could take some carrier oil, put some drops of color in, depending on what you wanted. So you could create a yellow spiral if you and have the spiral pointing inwards towards your front door if you wanted to bring happiness into your home. If you want to actually stimulate the flow of abundance, for instance, into your home, then you would do the spiral in red. But put a few drops of the color with the carrier oil. You can then charge it up. You can program it, sort of place your intention in it, and then use that and create the spiral outside of your door. So you can kind of do it without using a huge amount of product. You just use your intuition and be innovative with it and see how far you can actually go with it. So there's so many ways that you can actually use the oils within your space, in addition to using them personally on your body or on your being. So I hope that's given a little bit of insight there. Like that. Yes. Which one? The spirals, Cherry, or all of the space ones, especially with you doing feng shui. Yeah, the spirals, because of course spirals are very, very powerful with feng shui. So there's another way that you can incorporate it if you see that something's needed in a particular part of a property or a home. It's lovely. Tis. Okay, so there's that. So let's have a look at. Then we've got, oh, this is so special. I've had one or two nurses and also some midwives and some birthing partners doing the color course. And this has been really, really lovely for them to become more informed about how they could actually use color to support women in pregnancy and with infants and with small children. And here you kind of start seeing how you can use the various colors in very supportive ways. So with the mother in pregnancy, the recommended oils would be blue. And the blue oil, again, because there's a real level of support with the blue, that's suggested that that's applied under the bump if you like, under this growing stomach, because blue then supports the growing life. And that's the message that you are intending when you apply the blue oil in that way. So again, you know, you even sort of preconditioning, pre-programming that life that is actually birthing or growing within you with that intention right in the beginning. So it just is really lovely. And then you can use pink or coral in addition to that, the same as you would pink spray with babies. Use pink or coral on the stomach or over the heart, because that actually stimulates and enhances and amplifies the energy of love. And that's what you want to do. You want to bring that into the supporting life. And one of the other colors that is really good as well for pregnant mothers or women is green, because they are going through changes to their environment in many different ways. You know, once that baby arrives, their home and their life are never going to be the same. So you've got massive changes to their environment, as not only in the external sense, but in the internal sense. Their body is changing, their hormones are changing, you know, their shape is changing. Everything is actually changing. Their moods are changing. So you've got their inner environment and their external environment. So green is really, really good to actually support as well in coping with the shifts and the changes and making the transition into being a mom. So it's all of these changes in identity that are actually happening as a consequence of this. So those are the recommendations, the 3 key recommendations for pregnancy. Uh, Labor and birth, again, blue oil for support. Now, there is a degree of trauma to the emotional body. It depends on the degree of pain, but there is, you know, you kind of think about it, the pelvis is actually forced open, the birthing canal, potential tissues tearing. So you have got potential trauma that can be minimized by actually using the orange oil the same way as you would do as if somebody was preparing for an operative procedure or an invasive procedure. If you use the orange before the birth and during it, you would minimize any potential traumatic effects to the energy field and help to seal it and help them to maintain emotional balance through that process. So it benefits both mother and baby, and also afterwards, because it then helps to reseal the aura. It was interesting as well, because one of the ladies that I spoke to who was a birthing partner said to me that the maternity units that she actually did some work in, it was interesting to note that they were painted specific colors. And I think she said one was coral, one was pale lemon, one was pale blue or lilac, and the other one was magenta. And I said to her, and which ones were the most popular? Which was the least popular? She said the most popular were the coral and the pale violet, followed by the pale lemon, and the least popular was magenta. And there you actually see, which was really interesting, the pale, the pastel colors, the lighter colors that instinctively those women knew when they were choosing those birth rooms would support the life that was actually coming in. Remember, we said about the pale colors actually having more light in them. And babies are exceptionally sensitive to all sorts of frequencies, and they are more strongly connected with their source. So they automatically come in with more light. So you want to help to maintain that transition by using the pastel colors as much as possible through the birthing process, and then for their introduction into the new environment. So those pastel colors are really very, very supportive for babies. So that was an interesting observation that she had without actually knowing this, that she'd seen that the darker magenta color in the birthing rooms was the least popular. So here we have then the colors that we can use for baby. And those are from the angelic set, Mother Mary, which is a very, very pale coral that is aligned with the angelic essence, if you like, of Mother Mary. So it's very nurturing, very loving. And Gabriel, which is a pale turquoisey green. And those two colors and oils can also be used in the bathwater for the baby. They are safe to actually be used, and by putting them into the bathwater, it allows the skin to absorb the frequencies from the colors that are actually in there. So it's wonderful if you do that. Put them in the bathwater at night. There is a stronger possibility that the baby would actually sleep more effectively because of the absorption of those essential oils. And they're very, very dilute. Don't forget, they're already diluted in the colored oil. And then you're only going to put sort of perhaps 2 drops in the bathwater, so that dilutes them even further in the bathwater. So it's very safe and very gentle. Um, Avoid bright or loud colors in the baby's nursery. That's too jarring and too harsh. Keep these for infancy when stimulation is more appropriate. You don't want to overstimulate that very, very sensitive nervous system. So essentially in the first year, would stick to the angelic oils if you can. Those are kinder to the infant or the baby. So the light matrix or the angelic oils, the really pale colors. And then from 1 to 2 years, you can actually bring in blue and pink in terms of definite colors. Those are still very supportive. You've still got a peaceful, supportive environment for them. And then from about sort of 2.5 to 3 years onwards, then you start looking at bringing in the color green, because what do you actually have? You've got the kids then from the age of about 2, the terrible twos, where they really start testing their boundaries and yours in a very big way. So you want to support the introduction of boundaries and respect for boundaries, and green is actually a very good color to do that, because green, we talk about space, defining space, personal space. It's the environment. So green is good for that. Yellow is very good then for mental clarity and acuity and brain development, and for their self-confidence. And that's a positive, healthful self-confidence. So that's where the block colors actually start coming in very useful, because they're really starting to exercise that amazingly powerful brain and nervous system that is developing now. And you want that to actually become stronger. And it's also at the point where it can accommodate more of the strength, the stronger, definite colors rather than the pastel colors, because now they're beginning to develop some individual identity. So there you've got a host of different ways that you can actually use those products and to support both parents to be and youngsters at different levels of their development. And of course, from there on, sort of from 4 or 5 years onwards, you would then perhaps engage with this developing little human being by allowing them to begin to interact with the colors, so that they can communicate what it is that they feel that they most need, because their intuition would actually still be very, very strong at those young ages, and they will be able to tell you or be able to choose what colors they are connecting with, and that will give you information about their state of space and what is actually needed for development. So how does that feel, ladies? I know I was talking quite quickly through all of that, so I hope that you can obviously review it. Yeah, that's good. So you kind of start seeing just how broad and just how beautiful the use of color actually is. And you can start expanding it, because you will find many intuitive circumstances or situations, and you kind of go, you know what? Oh, I need that color in this particular situation for whatever reason, or I need that spray. And then you'll notice something that happens or shifts or changes as a consequence of you doing that. And it becomes part of your own inherent, inbuilt knowledge and wisdom. And that's the beauty of it. So, right. Now, I'm not going to go through this, because this is all in your workbook. However, at the back of your workbook on pages 72 to 76, this is a really, really useful guide, something that Penny has done. And it's a good cross-reference as well, as she's done an alphabetical summary of different physical ailments. They're not just physical, they could be emotional, mental, etc. But different ailments along with the supportive colors and recommendations in terms of behavior modifications that you can actually suggest to your clients or even for you. You know, if you're doing a reading and a certain color comes up or you are experiencing a certain ailment and there's something that you feel that you need for yourself, you can actually go to this particular list and have a look and go, oh, okay, that's a perspective that I didn't think about. Or there's an affirmation here. Sometimes there are actual affirmations that are written in here. Or looking at the behavior modification, you can also not only adjust your own behaviors around or in congruence with the use of a specific color to restore balance, you can create your own affirmations to support that process. So it's just as if we can have a look at a couple of examples, but there's like 5 pages there of ailments and a summary, which is just really, really a wonderful, handy reference. And that's something that I think Penny actually has just done in the last couple of years. So let's have a look. We know, let's have a look on page 75. The first one that's actually caught my eye is ovaries. Ovaries, and the suggestion is using pink, coral, or orange oils. Well, of course, coral is a combination of pink, and orange. So all three of those colors, and all three of them work with the female hormone and reproductive system. So you can see why all three of those colors would be really, really good for helping to balance the action and activity of the ovaries, because that's, you know, obviously very concerned with all of the female reproductive system and hormones. And one of the behavior modification associated with that is to be more in the creative flow. But I think it's kind of like being aware of yourself, becoming aware of yourself as a creative being, and having a look at where you may have blocked the expression of that creativity in life. And remember when we spoke about creativity, a lot of people go, but I'm just not a creative person, because they kind of think you need to be an artist or a writer or a singer in order to be creative. But creativity is way, way bigger and more than that. Even the very act of actually bringing a new life into the world is an act of creation. Creativity is nothing more than acts of creation. So it could be, you know, allowing inspiration to guide you to a new activity that's actually allowing yourself to be creative, to allowing yourself to actually create. So, so it's looking at that from a much, much broader perspective and understanding that whole essence of creation and creativity. Let's have a look at another one. If I just go further down that page, we get to sinuses. So let's have a look. Sinuses, indigo oil, and then the behavior modification is become aware of who is irritating you. It's an interesting comment, you know, and that's very simplistic as well in some ways, because sinus problems, it is to an extent about irritation of the sinuses, but it may not be a person that is close to you. So it may not be necessarily a person that's irritating you. It could also be circumstances or situations or systems or your environment, something in your environment. So it could be that your job, just being in your job, is irritating you because you're not in the flow that you actually want to be. So look, when you look at these statements, look from a broader perspective as well. Who or what is irritating you? And that's really quite interesting, because I do struggle with my sinuses. That's one of the weak areas. And, you know, we go back to this whole thing about the name, where indigo is one of the colors that actually comes up over and again with my name. And that analysis of the colors that are associated with that. And we've got all of those other issues and aspects of indigo that go along with that. Trust, mystery, going into the darkness, allowing yourself to be in the flow and to be in trust. But it's quite interesting looking at that statement, be aware of who is irritating you, because I don't necessarily have a who, but I actually have a what, because I alternate between being in the flow and accepting that I am in England and I don't want to be in England. So it's the country and the systems in the country that have irritated me no end. Coming up face to face with this kind of attitude that says, the computer says, no, we can't do that because it's the rules. The rules say we can't do that. And that frustrates me. So it's not a personal thing, but it's actually a system thing that is associated with this country. So if anything irritates me, it's that kind of attitude. So I've had to really do a lot of work on that to be at peace with where I am and knowing that I am actually still in the right place for what needs to happen and for my journey at this moment in time. So it's been an enormous challenge, sort of coming up against all of those stonewalling attitudes in very many cases, and appreciating the beauty and the magic that is also part and parcel of the journey. So, yeah, when you look at those statements, try and expand your perspective of them. So don't even limit the statement, sort of what needs to be done. Does that make sense, ladies? There's far too many in here to actually go through it in any extensive detail, but it does give you a really nice springboard and another wonderful reference for you to use and confirmation validation if you're actually working with somebody that has a specific ailment. Do you have any sort of questions or comments on that? You'll review with the notes. Yeah, that's absolutely it. You can always email me as well um, if you've got any specific questions. But I think it's very self-explanatory, and if you allow yourself to flow into it, and sort of don't get restricted just by the few words that are actually in here, and expand it using your intuitive self, you'll actually find that it's very, very useful. And I think a lot of it as well is it's using the colors that are appropriate for those particular ailments. And I think a lot of the behavior modification and that understanding has come through also in partnership with the Louise Hay work, which is You Can Heal Your Life. So it's having a look at what the underlying emotional issues are that have given rise to a certain set of physical imbalances or circumstances. So some of them are pretty clear. We've got where was that one I just saw? Um, heartburn. Yeah, heartburn. Fear is coming up to actually be released. And that is because it's an excess of acid. So it's related to the stomach. It's related to the solar plexus is heartburn. We think about it, the language says heartburn, but it's actually in the esophagus and related to the stomach, which is the yellow solar plexus issue. And overabundance of yellow is stress, anxiety, and fear. So what balances that is blue because it actually calms. But take a look at, with the heartburn, what are the fears that actually need to be reconciled and faced and transformed. So, yeah, have a look at them. There's a lot of support there in the workbook for you. So, having gone through that very briefly, there's obviously some more detail in the notes. I have to say that this is coming to the close of our final class on our journey on this wonderful transformation journey, and I just love this image as, sort of part and parcel of the closing bit, because it really is about you finding your own wings with this, that you fly with the colors. And look at that, those wings are transparent. They are revealing all of the different colors of the rainbow as they, sort of pass through and fly through the light. That's just a beautiful color. Um, so that really closes the whole journey and gives you, hopefully, a lot of tools that you can take away and use to enhance not only your own life, but the lives of people that you interact with through the magical application of color and frequency. So, what I would like to suggest that we do, which would be a wonderful way just to close all this off, is to do a closing meditation. So, how do you ladies feel about that? Do you have any questions at all before we do meditation? Anything that you would like to add? Seems to have gone all too quickly, doesn't it, really? Okay, very good doing. Yeah, you could probably do with that this evening, Ashrit, after such a long day. It's a wonderful way just to, I think, finish this off. Cherry, you okay with that? You got any sort of questions or comments at this moment? Are you feeling quite okay with all of the materials? Been a wonderful insight. Look forward to using my new tools. Ah, that's wonderful. And I look forward to any feedback that you might have. Like I said, I've been receiving some feedback from the others who have introduced sort of the straightforward color readings, and I know that different people have different ways of applying it. There's one woman who's actually doing it in conjunction with her angel readings. She's building in her knowledge of color with the angel readings. So there are many, many different ways that each person takes the insights and uses and applies them in their own unique environment and in their own unique way. So I would truly welcome any sharing that you might have about ways in which you have actually incorporated your new tools into your space or environment, and any successes that you've had, because it just is wonderful to share with people as I share others' anecdotal stories. Sort of during this workshop, it would become part of future sharings as well. So yes, please do. I would love to hear from you. Um, so, without further ado, if you ladies are ready, I invite you to the final color journey through this next meditative process. So, make sure that you are comfortable, first of all. So, just jiggle yourself around wherever you are and make sure that you're comfortable. And when you are, just gently close your eyes. That's it. And just rest and allow all that you have taken in through the 6 sessions and through this evening to move along your nervous system and become embedded within your personal energetic matrix. All that learning becomes a part of you. Just let it do that for a moment. Just feel it drifting away from your mind through your nerves. And now, place all of your attention onto your breath as you breathe in deeply and out. And again, deeply, all the way down to your toes, and breathe out. And each time you do, you breathe out any stress, any worries, any tension. And on that breathing out, you create space within your nervous system for the movement and the flow of your intuitive frequency, for the embedding of your higher self. Just almost feel yourself expanding as you relax with your breathing. Breathe in and out. That's it. And imagine now that there is a sphere of golden light above your head, and another sphere of deep magenta light below your feet. And that extending from that sphere above your head is a column that runs down. It enters the top of your head, it runs down through the center of your brain, all the way down around your spine, all the way down, and it connects with that sphere below your feet that connects you with the earth. And that column is simply filled with glowing source light. This is the clarity of all frequencies combined. Pure white light down that core column. And you feel your body stabilizing as you center yourself or center that column around your spine. You feel your shoulders dropping and relaxing. And this is the source light that gives birth to the uniqueness of you. It's the source light of your soul essence, your quintessence, flowing through the central column. And the living being you is a prism for that source light. And spiraling down around that core column are myriads of diamonds, and those diamonds actually refract the light in such a way that the colors that are manifest automatically are directed to specific areas of your body. So you see those spinning diamonds and all of the colors of the rainbow spiraling off them. And you find that from the tips of your toes that there is a flow and a pulse of vibrant red that makes its way up your legs, that it nourishes and feeds your muscles and your bones, provides support in life and strength, and that color fills up every cell in the lower part of your body as it fills up your legs all the way up your thighs and into your groin as it energizes the chakra in the groin area. Feel the pulse. And then graduating from this, you have a warm, stimulating sunshine orange, which as it expresses from the diamonds that are spinning in the core column, begins to pulse and flow into your sacral center, into your abdominal area, your lower abdomen, and it feeds your lower digestive system. It feeds all of the organs in this area, feeds your ovaries and your reproductive system. It feeds the tissues and the muscles in your abdominal wall, and it stimulates your sacral center. Let it nourish you and stimulate your natural creative flow. And from those spinning diamonds in your core, there is now a beautiful, uplifting sunflower yellow that flows naturally into your solar plexus area, enlivening and strengthening all of the organs in the solar plexus area. And it merges with the orange from the sacral, and you can see that golden color in the overlap. But the yellow feeds your stomach, it feeds your upper digestive system, your kidneys, your liver, all of those important organs, your pancreas. And you can feel your whole being uplifted, joyful, happy, intuitive, clear. And as you journey through the rainbow, those diamonds now turn in such a way that they are all emitting that amazing green, beautiful jewel green frequency that feeds the heart. And that beautiful emerald green diffuses out across your shoulders, down your arms and into your hands. And it flows through the cells in your lungs. It infuses all of the chambers of your heart, helping you to begin letting those walls down, balancing it, bringing you hope, courage, strength, love, trust, the ability to communicate with nature. The ability to see life through the lens of the heart, which is an expanded perspective. Because the heart, as the organ through which love flows, has no limits. Feel that color green as it energizes healing gifts in your hands, as you almost see yourself opening up your arms and your hands and throwing them wide open to embrace all that life has to offer. And then you move up through the turquoise shade into the blue, as those diamonds shift their angle slightly and refract the blue frequency which flows straight into the throat area. And you begin to feel that letting go of burdens, the peace, as the blue infuses the muscles and the bones around your neck area. Allow your neck, just roll your head gently from side to side, and allow the blue to ease the muscles and any tension within the neck and the upper shoulders. Literally feel them letting go. Feel your spine lengthening, and the blue feeds not only your voice box and your communication, it feeds your thyroid, your parathyroid. It feeds the lower part of the entire communication instrument, so you feel the blue moving through your jaw, easing it, through your gums and your teeth, through your tongue. So you feel your whole jaw releasing tension as the blue area and this frequency just feeds all of the cells and the bones and moving up. The spinning of the diamonds tilts just slightly again, and the color that is thrown into focus is deep inky indigo. And you almost feel it like the levels on the surface of water rising up from the jawline, encompassing your face and your eyes and moving into your brain, into your ears, stimulating all of your expanded inner senses. It stimulates your inner eye and your inner vision, your inner hearing, your inner sentience. It balances the pineal gland. Let that indigo blue wash through your sinuses. Let it calm all of the tissues and cells and the skin on your face. Let it move through the tissues of your brain. as your mind quietens even further, taking you deeper into your own insight. And finally, the movement of the diamonds in your spine pulses out a very finely frequenced violet color. And this makes its way to the very top of your head, filling you up completely, from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. And that violet is like tiny little droplets of light around your scalp, into the top surface of your brain, to your frontal cortex, into the hypothalamus and the main organs or endocrine glands within your brain. Let it ripple over the surface, bringing transformation and healing that can be transmitted right throughout the rest of your body. Let it bring insight and stimulate that connection with your divine highest self. And now, let's balance the rainbow by reversing the flow. And those diamonds in the core of your spine now switch their orientation as they continue spinning, and now they pulse out red, which actually replaces the violet at the top of your head, bringing balance. And as you move down, there is an orange frequency from the top of your head through your brain, down through your third eye, your nose, your ears. Be aware of what's happening within as you do this and you reverse the color flows. And further down, those diamonds in the center tilt and twist and rotate again, and they pulse out yellow as that yellow infuses your jaw, your neck, tops of your shoulders. And again, you move or rotate those diamonds to pulse out green, which again further strengthens the heart, the arms, the hands, your impulse for life. And dropping down further, you have the frequency of blue emerging from that core column, and flowing right through into your solar plexus area, soothing any tension in your diaphragm, in your stomach, in your pancreas, in your kidneys, your spleen, your upper digestive system, calming, soothing, easing. And drop down further as the frequency shifts to indigo that flows through your sacral center. And all of your ovaries, your lower digestive system, your reproductive system. And finally, you bring the divine down to earth as those diamonds pulse out violet into your root, down through your legs, and the bones, muscles. You feel an excitement, a buzz, an exhilaration, an energy, a balance as that violet fills up your legs all the way down to the tips of your toes. And each of the chakras is balanced by the complements of the colors. Just for this moment, you are held within this magical, stable and balanced space. And finally, watch as all of those diamonds in the center or the core of your spine or the core column, let them all line up perfectly so that the light that they emit is now cohesive and coherent, pure and iridescent white light. And let that white iridescent light flow throughout your entire being so that it feels as if your body, your cells, your muscles, everything has been dipped in glitter. That whatever color you need at any time can be accessed from within you. Tiny adamantine particles that permeate every cell in your body. And take a deep breath in. And breathe out as you hold this balanced space. And once more, deep breath in. And out as you allow your consciousness now to return to this time, to this space, to this class. And one more deep breath in. As you breathe out with a sigh, and welcome back. You can open your eyes as soon as you're ready. How do you feel? So nice and calm. You really feel the energy in your hands and in your body, almost sleep. Yeah, that's wonderful. Then that just means that it's actually relaxed you deeply, Ashrit. So it's wonderful for you to hold that space and now go and get a good night's rest because you've had a tough day. So go and get some rest. Um, so I'm not going to talk too much longer so that you can actually hold that wonderful balanced space. I like that, Jerry. Was that a slip of the fingers there? I get it. You enjoyed that. Okay, you're still in an altered state, I think. Very relaxed. Okay. Well, ladies, that is wonderful. I'd like you to hold that relaxation, hold that beautiful balance, and take it away with you. And I would just like to say thank you so much for being a part of this journey, for being a part of the ongoing journey for me. Because each time I do this and I work with color, I recall, I remember, and I relearn things that I knew and things that I had forgotten and things that I didn't know that I knew. So it's just such a beautiful journey to share with you, and I hope that you will take it away with you. I love you. Yeah. Thank you very much, Ashrit, and thank you too, Cherry. Thank you for being a part of it. So, any questions, you can contact me. You can have this recording so that you can listen to that meditation again, and I hope that you will enjoy it. So, yeah, namaste. God bless. Good night, and love you. Thank you.